Hi guys, welcome to another video. So in this video it's going to be this class 50. It's got cracked gears and I think I need to just put some grease on the shaft that's inside because it's rubbing on the bearing block. So I'm just going to show you some of the symptoms to look for, because on this loco hides the problems actually quite well. It moves relatively nicely actually, but for me, let's just check she's on the track properly. She definitely is. Right. For me, I'm trying to get all my locos to crawl, and I guess my inbuilt challenge to myself is just to try and make everything run like it was new almost, or like as best as I can. So anyway, I'll show you. Well, I'll try and show you both symptoms. So here we go. Alright, we'll go a bit faster. Sounds like a click clack on the track sort of thing. Well, that sounds like it's knocking. And I won't talk, I'll let you hear the... Right, that's that clack 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 clack. That's going around every rotation of the wheel. So now there's either something on the wheel or it's possibly a gear on the wheel. Now I know it's the gears on two of the axles that need changing, so we'll look at that later. Now the next one I'm trying to video for you is this squeal. I think it'll be on the way up to that little house in the corner. There. Yeah, you heard it at the beginning just then, yeah, right? So it's quite hard because they're in the squeal is an inconsistent symptom, and at slow speeds it's kind of okay. And this train is actually really like I guess it's loose on the gears so that it can still run on broken gears. It's impressive. I'm not gonna lie, like that's a good crawling speed. But what you'll find is if you iron out all the issues, like see, the problem with the gears is if they're cracked, the teeth are slightly wider apart, so it will lump. So you want to make it as smooth as you can. That squeal that you heard will be the shaft chattering in a bearing block. So it sounds to me like it's just dry, so I'll just put a touch of grease on that. But what we're going to do with this one in particular, I'm just going to show you quickly how to access the shaft if you have the squeal issue on the 50, and also how you get a bogey off and change a wheel, and to basically get to change one of the gears. So if you've got a 50 and you're having slight issues and one of these is that issue, and you're like, oh, or not even that, you might not even know you can make your loco better in a way. So hopefully this video can help you out. Like I say, I've got a few other locos to go through, so do I show you them or not? No, I won't do. We'll just start here with this 50. Next, what you're going to see is me just showing you how to do it, I guess. Okay guys, first thing we're going to do to get under the shell is remove this battery box. Now the way I do it is I pinch either side, pull it this way and up. Now the reason I do that is to not snap these tangs off. So put that to one side. The other thing I'm going to do is, whilst we're here, I'm holding the body, get my finger in the other side and pinching the motor there, and it allows the shell to spring out. There's various ways you can do this yourself. You can just literally pull the shell out and up. I'm just being ever so careful here, because what you'll find on all locos is the chassis tends to catch the buffer end of the shell. So that's off, the shell is off. I'll put that to one side. So it's just so that stuff don't get damaged, because we don't want anything getting damaged. Now we're in. So what I tend to do is just have a little look at all the stuff. I will clean up the motor. It's running fine. It's just I can see it's a little bit dirty, and that's fine. It's just I tend to just do that with everything I have. Now, the easiest thing to do, we're going to look at the gears first. Now, you want a tiny little flathead. I mean, the easiest thing you can do is literally, whilst it's, just lift it upside, you don't have to remove anything, just turn your loco upside down like this, and it's not a lot of pressure. In fact, you can teach yourself how much pressure, but I'm just running my finger. So that's got a cracked gear, that one. This one's good. If you overdo it, you'll be turning the axle in the good gear, which will break in it. So this one here, see how the wheel moves, but the gear doesn't. So I know that one's not so good. And I think this front one might be had it as well. So a better way to check. So once you suspect a cracked gear, do what I just did there, and sometimes you can actually see the split in the gears. So we'll put these bits to one side. For you, you could probably, take photos as you go, and you know exactly where stuff does go, or you can, just follow my video. It doesn't matter. So we're just getting a bogey out. I haven't removed the other side there. I mean, be careful, because on some of these Graham Farish locos, they're all timers now, and some of the plastics are quite brittle. And the last thing you want to do, I might do it by accident, but I hope I don't. So this one's a bit tricky to get out, so yeah, she's putting up 5. I'm being very careful here, because if I put too much force on it, sometimes they can just snap, and then you'll have to buy a new one, Farish and spares. Again, they're not paying me to say that. It's just they seem to have all the good bits. All right, so we'll go to the first bogey we had. Now all I'm going to do is turn this top gear, and you want it to be smooth all the way around, and it's not. It kind of stops there. I'm going to go all the way back the other way, and it stopped there. Now what you can do, this might be very hard to show you on camera. I'll try and get a split. So I'm turning the top gear that the worm gear would normally drive. Where is it? Oh, I know you're here somewhere. I think that middle gear, just there. See that little split? Just there. Now, right. So that needs changing. We'll put that one to one side. We'll have a look at the other one. There it is. Right, coupling end axle. Just there, look, you see it? Just there, that little black line going across the gear. Well, that's a split as well. So that's what makes the clack, 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 clack noise. There might be more gears, so the reason I know that one's got to come out, so we're going to do that. And I think on the other one, it was the middle one, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, so I've shown you in other videos how to get the gears out and change them. I've actually got proper gears now, so I found some. Gonna flathead screwdriver in the end. Now when you take this apart, there is a spring in here on that coupling, so just make sure it doesn't jump into your eye, because that wouldn't be a good day. And what we're going to do, I'm not overly, whilst you're in here, this is the important bit with the spring, so up and pull it away, be very careful, so it's released its tension, or its springiness. Put that to one side. Now, middle one, wasn't it? I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, the middle one there again. I just keep confirming. So I'm going to remove this. I'm putting both fingers under it, and whilst pushing down on these two, trying not to stab myself with these contacts. And they are quite fragile things. trying not to bend them as well. So, well, that came out. So have a look at this. Now if I put my fingernail on the side there, my lovely ugly fingernails, yeah, see, that shouldn't happen. So it should have a bit more, it did have a lot more bite on it if you like, but this is the thing, the plastic almost becomes brittle over time, and you know that happens that's just how it is. So we're going to change that gear, but whilst we've got it off here, now we can see if this should freely rotate if we've got all the gears, you know, the dodgy ones. And it does. Now we'll go the other way. Yeah, so that's good, you know. I think we fixed that one gear, and that's good. Now we're gonna leave that like that, because chances are, because we know there's one on here, and I do believe it's this one, we're gonna split this apart now. Take that off. Hopefully you don't get spring in your eye. Whoa. Maybe do it in a pot, and then that way, if it does spring out, you're not on your hands and knees on the carpet, praying to the carpet gods that it will give it you back. So they're okay. So yes. Right. So this one, again, when I lift this off, I'm trying not to bend the contacts, so I'm going to hold this lot like that, and I'm going to wiggle it with my two fingers here and pull it off, because they're in like a little clicky socket. There we go. I'm going to have a look at this one, and sorry about the focusing, it'll go in and out sometimes. I'm really trying to show you. And this does the same thing. It's got a bit more of a bite on it, but I shouldn't really be able to do that with my fingers. But that little gap is enough to give it an issue. So we'll put that next to the other broken one. Now, and we'll do the same thing like we did on there. We'll just turn this and hopefully it should be free. Because if it wasn't, it'd be like, well, there's another broken gear somewhere. So we'd go into that. So I'm pretty happy to say that this loco's got 2 broken gears, and now we can fix them. What we're gonna do, I think, now this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take one wheel off, just like that. I know this one's good, and I'm gonna put it on this bogey. So I'm gonna push the contacts in as well as I can there. Now, I'm just resting it. Definitely invest in a good set of tweezers for yourself, because that really does help. Mine aren't so good. They've been through the wall. But it does. You're going to be using them a lot, I would imagine. What I'm trying to do here, you've got to be very careful with these pickups. Now you notice there wasn't any pickup issues with the loco when we were running it earlier, and so I'm not actually cleaning the pickups. Now to do this properly, you would. I think I'm going to be coming back to this at a later date, so I'll clean it then. So that's just under the rim, and on the other side it is as well. So now you're ready to pop it on, and we'll check it's free to move. It seems alright, although what's going on there? Hey up. You know what, I think there's another crap gear in here. Oh dear. Maybe. Yeah, it keeps, you can see that it's got resistance there and there. So that basically tells you how big of a diameter the gear is. For some reason I just suspect it's this one. Let's just try. No. Okay, duh, I've just put There's a broken gear on this one. Yep. Damn. And that's funny because it seemed to like it wasn't a problem in this loco in this bogey. Ah, that sucks. Okay, so basically make yourself a good. This is what I do. I just make a good bogey out of 2. You haven't got to do it this way. I'm going to put that to one side and we'll come back to that later. Also, I notice on the wheels there's like almost a fully black side, and then there's one where it's like the brass is just showing of the shaft. So I quite like putting them plastic all one side and then brass the other. That's probably the right way you're meant to do it. Each time you put one in as well, make sure it is free to move. That's great. That feels good. So we'll go for the next one. In previous videos, what I did was I bent the pickups outwards. Now I'm trying to avoid doing that because lately I've realised the less they're sprung onto the wheels, the better crawl speed you can get. But there's a fine balance between crawling and not being able to get power to the loco. Now that feels great. I can't feel any gnarly bits or anything. So I'm not going to show you the other one because it's exactly the same as this, because what we'll do is we'll just zoom forwards to the shaft investigation. But so I'm just going to show you how to put this one together, and then you just do the same for the other one. But what I do need to show you actually is how do you change a gear on an axle, or how I do it. Okay, so that is balance in there. If you chucked that around, you're going to get a spring in your eye probably. It's a bit of a balancing act. It's like holding an egg or something on a stick, I guess. You don't really want it to drop. So this will go in like that. So carefully either side. And now at that point there, you're kind of safe with the spring. It's not going to go in your eyes. And it's not down properly. So this end clicks in, he says, because these are very similar to the 37 and there we go, it's in 47 bogies. Yeah, beautiful. And it's just the reverse here. What you want to be doing is be very careful of these, and I'm just gonna tweak that out a little bit so that they're both about level. You want them about that actually. Now because I've left this one side in, I can come in like that and boop, it's in. And then we'll put our little 90-degree clip back on like so. I don't do these dead tight. It's just enough to hold them flat against the metal. The the plastic against the metal. If you do graunch them up, you'll put a lot of stress on the plastic, and over time they crack as well. So in this case, this one has got a bit of that movement. And generally, yeah, it feels alright. So another check you want to do is push down one end, and you're looking at that contact there. You don't want it to lift off the contact patch, and the same here. You want to squash this end down, and the one in there, you don't want that coming off its contact patch. See, just like that. You don't have to push it all the way down. It's just, this is what it'll be doing over the track, so you want it to have contact all the time. So that's that one done. I will show you. I'll just go get some side cutters, and I'll show you how I change a gear. Okay, so I'm back. First thing first, we've got 3 gears here. I tend to, they're screwed anyway, so I'm getting the side cutter on it. You can snip it like that, or I tend to grab it and twist it. And actually it just comes off the shaft because they're not, can that focus? You see how there's our crack look. So I'm going to put that to one side. A nice little pot. There we go. We'll have a box of bits. I've done loads of gears on trains. It just seems to be a Graham Farish thing. So I'm just going to do them all. That one snapped. That was quite brutal. Okay, and actually, what you can do is count the teeth on them to be double sure before you take them off. Okay, so we've got a gear here. You can do this whilst it's on the axle, but I just did. I know which ones go in here, so I'm just showing you how I do it. Really, you see the crack. You can count from the crack and go like round, or you can. What's easier to visually see, I guess, would be a dot like that. This is just a silver marker pen. You could even colour the whole thing silver if you wanted. It just aids you in counting the spokes. So in this case, the number 1 in our case is going to be the silver one, and I'm going to actually go anti-clockwise. I don't know why, I just do it that way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's a 16 tooth gear. Yeah. So that's how you do it. But I'll put that back. I've got some new ones, so let's have a look. I've got a few of them. Basically, I've got a box of bits, and I'm never really too sure what's in there because I've bought a lot of stuff over time. Right, so we've got a new gear ready. Now what we're going to do is get this axle ready. Now what I'm going to show you, as I've done in previous videos, is not the right way to do this. I'm not going to aim to be cutting the shaft here, and these are fairly blunt side cutters. What we're doing is putting them in like this. So what I can do is lever up against each side cutter, and one of the wheels pops off. And that's good because now we've got access to putting the gear on, and we've got a wheel that needs to go back on. Next thing, I'm doing this for you, is to measure right, so the biggest bit there measures 1.67 millimeters, and I've got a drill bit here that's 1.6. So if I put this drill bit through that gear, we should have a fairly nice fit of the gear on the shaft there. It'll be it's what's called an interference fit. I do this by hand. You can get one of them hand reamer type things. I'm just literally holding a drill bit, and I'm going to go as square as I can. I'm not pushing it. I'm almost pulling it when I screw it in, because I don't want it to grip and go in too quick. The reason I'm doing this is so that hopefully the gears last longer. So there's not enough, there's not loads of tension on that gear to like break it apart in the future. It would just be sort of like happy as Larry, you know. Because I think at Bachmann they just sort of rammed them on. Job was a good one. The plastic I can feel. So I've twiddled it through there, and I'll move this up and down like it's almost a file, just to be sure. And hopefully, if there was anything on it, it's freed it up. Now I'm really not doing a lot with this loco other than changing the gears, and going to sort that squeal out. So sometimes when you take the wheel off, they can get a bit of plastic left in this, and it's very important to remove that, otherwise you'll struggle to get the gear on. This is going to be tight, I know that. So I just push it on by hand, and now what you're aiming for is to get the gear on that raised bit there. Don't worry if you go too far with it, but what you don't want to do is sort of go off the end. So little and often, I'm literally, my skanky nails there, pushing it on like that. Ta-da! And we should have, fingers crossed, the lovely new gear. And now this just gets back on. You should hear like a little click almost. Yeah. And then just check your wheels. I just literally roll it. Check your wheels aren't like doing like a wobble. And also, one that we haven't touched, I'm going to put it next to it. And the rim edges should be about the same, and they are. So we have got a wheel fixed. I'm going to put this. I'm going to start in the middle, and also here, because we've taken all the axles out, I'm just going to. Now that one's just on there, so I'm trying to lever it up. There we go. And beauty. Feels good. So I'll do that 2 more times, and I'll put the bogey back on, because I think once is enough to show you. I won't do the whole thing. This video will be miles long. But I'll get that back on, and then the next thing we're going to do is actually run it before we look at the squeal, because I want to see if the gears are all good now. Okay, so we're just testing it now. Now we'll do a little crawl. Try and get it going like consistently. That lumpiness has gone from the cogs basically. You can see how it's smoother. I'll just do a high-speed test now, and we should still have the squeal. It's quite loud, isn't it, the squeal? Okay, so let's tackle the squeal now. The gears are fixed. I haven't put any grease on them or anything like that. Okay, so we're back, and really, what we need to do is, first thing I'm going to do is remove this with my tweezers. This is how I tend to do it, either side. This is why I want some, probably different types of tweezers as well. I just use these for everything, and I'm levering up on that. There's a spring under it, this one here. That looks a bit, okay. The only reason I'm taking that out, which we'll leave there for a minute, or maybe not, let's see. Yeah, we'll leave that there a second. What we're doing is we've got to take this cover off, because I want to have a look at the shafts. So, even though I've just put the bogies on, I'm going to take them off again. Extra work. So we should have done it earlier, but one problem at a time, eh? So, just like before, you take these side clips off, that comes off, that comes off. And I'm going to have to do the same at the other end. That comes off. Now, I've done this a few times, I've probably mentioned that a few times, but all the bits, I'm quite familiar with the locos now. So what we're left with here, I'm not putting the chassis on its weight on the ground like this because of those contacts there. If anything, if you want to put it down, put it on its side and try not to touch these bits. What we're interested in, I think this is missing a screw, because there's one there, which we'll take that out first. And bear in mind, this spring I've just taken out for the motor, which was this one here, there's still a brush in there, so that could just fall out at any time, so be wary of that if you're in the same scenario. Next screw anyway we're going to take out is this one. Now underneath, that's what's holding on the contact there, so I'm going to put my finger over that nut and remove the bolt. If you look at the class 47 I did, it's pretty much the same thing. Now I'm going to be a bit lazy here, I'm leaving the screw like that. The screw, the nut there is probably loose. Oh, the screw's actually fallen out. Okay, so it wanted to come out. Also be wary, when that's come out, this is going to be loose. In fact, that doesn't normally happen, but we'll leave that to one side. We'll put that back on. I just don't want loose things falling off whilst we're getting in here. So there's another one up here for the other contact. That'll come out. That's come off. Okay, so in my case, you'd have another screw up here. So there would normally be one there, one there, one there, and one there. These ones go all the way through to the bottom side to these. So whilst I'm here, that comes off, and with it, our brush and our bush are stuck in here. I'm going to be careful here because I want less work than more work, so I'm going to leave that like that. Now here's the motor. Now these all seem a little bit, these are all different amongst the locos. I'm just moving up and down. Now the motor's going to be kind of locked at this point because these two blades, if you like, on either side of the motor, they get sprung out with that black plastic patch. Now the squeal that we've got is actually coming from a selection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bearing blocks. Now I'm going to put some grease on those. I'm just going to put this down sideways and grab a cocktail stick. And it's not a lot. You do not want a lot of grease here. More wouldn't necessarily be terrible, but what we're going to do first is I've got a bit of grease on the end of here. It's just literally wheel bearing grease off the car, and I'm going to put it that side of the shaft. See if we can get in there. I'm trying to basically put it against the shaft and down a bit. So that one's kind of done. I'm going to put some of the other side of this worm. Once it's, if you kind of do like a running in thing, then basically this will move around the loco, this grease, and you just want it to just like go in the hole basically. If you buy new bearing blocks, which I don't think are needed really, you want them to be quite slack. I'm just doing that one there as well. I'm not going to do this one, this side, and also the motor. Don't do the motor side of the bearing block, just do this side of it, and not a lot either. That one's okay to accidentally get more on. But this one's the important one. Do not get oil this side, because if it goes on that commutator, it's not going to make your motor run very nicely. So we're going to go this side. Now the other reason I'm doing this, that squeal to me, when it makes a squeal, that's not, that's like, help me, you know, it's the shaft chattering, and that means the shaft chattering, it wastes a lot of energy. Now the better you can make these motors run, the actual longer lasting they're going to be, because they're not going to heat up as quick. They will last longer. So grease there. I tend to use cocktail sticks quite a lot. Pretty handy things. Not loads, like I say. Just, you could use oil even if you wanted to. I haven't. This is my go-to thing. I'm going to put some here on the worm gear, tiny little bit. Not a lot. Not a lot, by the way, at all. I used to just overdo them before and it was too much. Okay, so that's that. And whilst we're here, I'm just going to look at the motor because it's important that, I'll zoom in here so you can see. It's important that on the commutator blades, which is these things here, there's a gap, and there needs to be a gap basically, and it looks a bit like there's stuff in there, so I'm just going to use a knife blade, but being very careful not to scratch the commutator. See that? So if you've got something bridging that gap, it's just going to make it bad, or run badly. And I just rotate it around a bit more. You'll notice it's a bit harder to rotate the motor at this point. Not being overly joyful with it. Just want to make sure there's nothing in there. Yeah, so this one's a 5-pole motor. It's not. I don't think that's skew wound. I'm not sure. Looks in good shape though. I'm not. Also, again, I'm being careful not to put it on the floor with the contacts that are still underneath it, facing the ground. Otherwise, you put the weight of the chassis on there, innit? Or squash them. So that's it, basically. I'm not going to turn anything more than it's needed. I know the brush end here, so if you look at this plate, it's fairly clean under here. That cutout there's for the motor, that's for the brush. So you know the brush is at this end of the motor, so it's going to go on this way. And also, it won't go on fully yet, because you know them blades on the either side of the motor with the triangular bits, in fact, those bits. Here is where you line one up with a hole, and now I'm pushing down and I'm going to drag it this way so the other blade can click in. So just like that, and then wiggle it back, and they're both in the slots. Again, our brush is still in the hole, that's good, I don't want to mess with that. The first one I'm going to do, actually, don't do them all up tight. So what we're going to start with is a countersink screw, which in your case would be there and here. They'll be the same length countersunk screw. I've only got one. I know this is fine with just the one, that's fine. This is my logo, so you know, I'm not selling it or anything like that, so if I was bothered about that, I'll be doing it another way. See that this one didn't fall off. I'm putting the screw through. Be very careful. That's gonna want to fall off, I reckon. And then the nut goes on. Holding it with my thumb. If it doesn't want to start straight away, go unthread it until you feel it click, and then start threading. So that stops you cross-threading the screws. I'm not doing it super tight there either. It's just enough. So back here, on there. See, the screws come through. So it hovers in a void. This then would go over that. Most of the time these don't come off, the plastic bits. You have to kind of like pry them up a little bit, but they came off on this one, which is nice. There we go. Hopefully you can see how I'm doing all this. The chassis is longer than the 47 and 37, but you can see they look very similar. Again, I'm just holding the nut with my thumb, and it's just enough tightness. It's not super tight or anything like that. Okay, so the next thing, normally I'd clean the brushes and the motor and all that good stuff. I'm not doing that. It runs alright. I just want to get rid of the squeal, and actually in doing so with that grease it should have helped. So you see how I just put, there's a brush in there by the way, and the brush, the nipple bit on top of the brush goes up facing the spring, so the spring goes around the nipple. Lucky spring. There we go, nice little click. Clickety clack. Don't go back. We'll go for our bogies. I don't think I'm really missing anything here. It's just Oh god, to date, how many of these have I done? I'm going to say 100 Poole type chassis alone. And nowadays, you can see how easy it is once you know your way around them. And I'm really hoping this video helps you guys out, because that's what it's about. I do see a lot of people struggling with these. And I remember when I was a kid, I had to go at fixing one. I basically didn't have a clue, and it wasn't that long ago I didn't have a clue myself. And all I did was I was playing with a train, and I just kept mucking around with it. I was like, work better, work better, work better, and I kept doing different things. And over the accumulation of me doing loads of these, now there are a lot of people out there, possibly even watching this video, going, I also fix them and you do it differently to me. Well, I am still learning. I just find that my way works. If there's something I can do better, please, by all means, let me know, because that's, better's good for everybody, isn't it? But I wanted to show you this because there's no real, I guess there's a bit of flair of accuracy with it. There's other things definitely that I haven't shown you. Let's take, for instance, how I put the wheels on and off this loco. And what you're meant to do is measure the inside width of the rims and stuff like that. But again, it's my loco. If it doesn't go over points because of that, then that's on me, and I'll sort it out later. But here we go. We're going to test this around the track. I think that's pretty good to go. And see whether we've got rid of that squeal. I'll tell you what I will do though. It might squeal for like the first 5 seconds, and then it'll shut up because the grease has gone in the shafts. So actually what I'm going to do, I'll run it for 5 minutes either way, and we'll be back. Okay, so we return. We have got... I've not put the shell back on. I can't hear a squeal. So, I think we got rid of the squeal, which is nice. I've not fully run this yet, so I think that's the next thing. Okay, so we're back, and to put the shell on, you literally grab the shell. Now, I suspect highly that this is handed one side, and it is. So inside the shell is, in this case, a little stub. Now, if you look on the outside, the exhaust is, well, the grill there, I think that's for the oil cooler, pretty sure, is there. So, in our case, that little bit there has to be about here. Let's see where it sits, actually. Yeah, it sits, I think, just on that track there, actually. So that's where it's going to go. So the motor brush is this end of the loco, but the oil cooler is that end. So really that's the front of the train. The motor's at the back. So we go for that. You might have issues with your buffers sticking out to get your shell back on, but you literally just go pop and G's on. And up, a little buffers come out, which isn't the end of the world. They're not glued in on this, which is absolutely fine. And I'll just push that back in. Just be wary when you're doing all this that, bits can come loose and you don't want to lose them. I'm just making sure the buffers are in properly. So now, I've got the battery box, and on here, in fact, look at the loco. It's actually thinner up here than it is there. It's a bit wider here, and that corresponds to this. That's the wider bit there. Okay, so this has got to go around this way. So just put it in one end, down the other, where you think it is. Pop. I'll just show you quick. If you did it the other way around, it won't go on. Start on the bigger end, and then don't force it. Like, that'll go if I really rammed it, but that's how you break it. It should just, it's a loose fit, okay. There you go, she's on. So I think we'll run the train for a bit now. Let's put some carriages on it and give it a whirl.